and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Gigi Sparkles. You are getting Gigi Sparkles again today because Neon and the kids are working an event, and hopefully we'll have Neon back later. But for now, it's just me once again. And today, we're going to talk about how moviegoers are shocked to learn they've been using Rotten Tomatoes wrong all along. It's not because people hate these movies, it's because people don't understand how to use Rotten Tomatoes. Honest. And this lovely thought piece comes from CBR, so no shock there. But before we get into it any further, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We are at 277,000 subscribers. Yay! Please make sure that you are still subscribed because, you know, YouTube does some weird things sometimes. I also want to take a moment to shout out my mom. Mama Sparkles is making these Clownfish TV logo pouches for us. They are limited to 25. They're already about half gone. So if you wanted one of these, you might want to get on that. As Neon calls them, the bag of holding. They actually will hold quite a bit. They're 8.5 by 5 inches. They're handmade. We are signing them on the inside. They will be washable. You can wash them and reuse them. And they're coming with a wrist strap that you can take on or off. So that is coming. If you're interested in those, you have a little bit of time left and they're about half gone. So back to the stupidity for the day. So yes, they put this piece out and we have all this discussion about Rotten Tomatoes as of late about how relevant it is. You know, oh, there's all the talks about review bombing, which of course they have to get in the article. We'll get there. They have all of the different things going on where people are like, well, critics say one thing and audiences say something else. It's just been an ongoing issue. And there are some popular quote unquote shows that the critics thought were going to be the best thing ever because of their agendas or whatnot. And they aren't getting reviewed very strongly or favorably for audiences. But it's not because audiences don't like these shows. No. It's because they thought by giving it a low score, that was saying you like the show. According to the couple people they got as examples for this theory. Okay. So here's the article. Moviegoers admit on social media that they have been reading review aggregate Rotten Tomatoes as a rating system incorrectly the entire time. Because don't you know when you go to like Amazon or something and there's a review and it's like 3 out of 5 stars, that means that, you know, the lower the number, the better the product, right? If you get a 1 out of 5, that means it's a glowing review. I mean, of course, that who doesn't know that? I'm just like, nobody thinks this. Nobody thinks this. I mean, I can see Rotten Tomatoes a little more because you're thinking that you're throwing Rotten Tomatoes at the screen, but that would still indicate that if a thing is like out of 5 stars, you wouldn't, a 1 out of 5 would not be a good thing. You know, I don't know. Here's what they're trying to argue. It has become apparent on social media that many internet users have misunderstood Rotten Tomatoes rating system, with confusion seemingly stemming from the review's name. That they're basically thinking that a high critic score indicated it had a greater chance of being rotten. And the higher the percentage, the worse the show was. I mean, I get it, but most people aren't falling for that. Most people understand how it works. There's been enough talk about it on social media and through pop culture sites that very few people are going to misunderstand, okay? And they have a couple examples of people on Twitter. We're talking about, my friend told me she thought the lower the number on Rotten Tomatoes, the better the movie. She thought a higher percentage meant the movies had a higher chance of being a Rotten Tomato. And then one person replies, I used to think it meant how many people would want to throw a tomato at the movie, like, boo, this movie sucks. And a couple people, wait, you know, that's not how it actually works. So one person's comment, and these people were replying to it. It's one person who said their friend thought that. They got a handful of replies, and that people are misunderstanding. Those movies, they have a low score because maybe people thought if I give it a low number, that means I like it. Yeah. So of course, they go down here. It's like, oh, I thought Rotten Tomatoes meant they were metaphorically throwing Rotten Tomatoes. That's honestly what I thought too. And I get where you can misunderstand that. However, after years and years of Rotten Tomatoes being a point of contention in the pop culture media and via Twitter and through YouTube and all these things, and these people clearly hang out on Twitter, I find it very hard to think that people still would not understand that. I got it maybe when it first started, but by now, if you still think that, I question it. And we wouldn't have an article without having to go into review bombing, of course, because we have to get those names and the Captain Marvel in there, which we're going to get to in a second. They're talking about Metacritic and IBM being other aggregates you can use, but they said the problem is, it's a score of 60% or more makes it fresh, and a 75%, earns the title certified fresh. Right there, that should tell you the higher the score, the better it is. If it's 60% says fresh, and it says fresh on the thing, like if you go here and look, look, there's a tomato, and it'll say certified fresh on these things if you click on them. And they go by critic score. The audience scores don't usually count. It's just the critic scores. Well, let's go here to Andor, because they're having a relatively high critic and audience score. And, it'll say a lot of times on here somewhere that they're certified fresh. I'm not seeing it here, but I know it's on here somewhere. I've seen it before. Anyway, they're just, that's the way it works. People still don't understand, or they'll have certified fresh on like the ads they run or whatever. But we still didn't know. But then they had to get down to the review bombing. Of course, they don't mention the opposite of review bombing, which we've seen with several movies and shows like She-Ra, or they saw Captain Marvel, where there was groups of people who would get together and they would announce on social media that they were going to go and artificially, boost, scores, and they'd get together to, let's go all post 5 stars. And you'll see, comments like "go lesbians" or things like that. And they're trying to trick the scores by raising them artificially. You don't talk about that. You don't talk about the fact that it's not hard for studios to go and hire bots or, different things that can go in and boost things artificially. No. It's only the no good nicks who are review bombing it. Here we go. Review bombing consists of users, many of which tend to be fake. So are a lot of the ones that are in lockstep voting things up and have like weird, copy paste write-ups with them, or they have like new accounts that have nothing, and then they just say, yay, 5 stars. It works both ways, let's be honest. And then they're talking about Captain Marvel, which received a multitude of negative audience reviews before the Marvel Studios film even premiered to the public. And because of that, Rotten Tomatoes now has things in place to not let you do that. And I get it. If things haven't been out in the public, in that case, yes, that's shitty. You didn't see it, so you can't really review bomb it because you haven't seen it. I mean, you shouldn't be posting things to that if you haven't watched it. However, the same happened in the opposite direction as well. Both are bad. Both are wrong. But we never mention the other one. That's what gets me. If you're going to talk about how easily influenced these sites are, you need to cover both sides of the spectrum. Then they're talking about Zack Snyder and his Snyderverse hashtag movement, and how Snyder was in trouble because he said, I don't control my fans. They have their own free will and their opinions. You give me too much credit, because he wouldn't tell them to stop. Same thing happened, I'll bring She-Ra up, with Noelle Stevenson. I'm sorry, N.D. Stevenson now, at the time, Noelle Stevenson. They were talking about how people, were going out there and causing all kinds of problems to the fan base, to the longtime fans. They were attacking fans for not liking the show, or for different things that were really stupid. And, nothing was said. Now, they didn't attack people on either side, but they didn't do anything either. And that was fine. And it's understandable. You can't control what people do. I mean, N.D. Stevenson can control how fans reacted any more than Zack Snyder could. I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do. It's not their responsibility to make sure people don't. But neither one spoke out. But it's okay when one side does it, but not okay when another side does it. You know how this works. Then they're talking about how Rotten Tomatoes did the 2019, they took the 1 to see score off because, of the Captain Marvel stuff. And that's the way it is. But when you go and look at these shows, okay, here's Lord of the Rings, right? Here are some of the reviews from people. When they're talking about, hire some decent writers, 0.5 star. Overall stunning show. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that 4 stars and an overall stunning show is good, and hire some decent writers with a 0.5 star is bad. And I have looked at many, many, many different reviews and different shows or movies on Rotten Tomatoes. We've covered them on the site many, many, many times. And I'm not seeing an overwhelming trend of people not understanding this. I mean, this is the first I've heard it. I guess I can see where it can be confusing, but by now people know what Rotten Tomatoes is. And if it is confusing to some people, it's literally a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of people. It's not because people don't understand Rotten Tomatoes and we're giving them half a star because it's excellent. I mean, that's the next thing they're going to go with. Well, if people don't understand how Rotten Tomatoes works, maybe they're just giving it a low score because they actually think that it's really, really, really good. So those low scores are actually positive. That's where they're going to probably go with it next, because this is the dumbest thing. And it's one person's comment and some people responding, and that warranted an entire article on CBR. I'm just like, I can't even understand this. I mean, because that's what they're going to try to lead with next. Well, people don't understand. They just don't understand. They've been using it incorrectly. So they really meant for it to be a 5-star. Honest, I swear. Anyway, do not harass the people in the tweets. I think I have to say that because some people will, and then I'll have to hear about how I told them to. So look, I'm telling you not to harass the people in the tweets. I just think this was one of the dumbest things I've seen in a while. And that's saying something, especially coming from CBR. So please like and subscribe, and I will catch you later. Bye.